This meeting of the Eau Claire City Council will come to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Anderson.
Here.
Birdie.
Here.
Brewster.
Here.
Johnson. Mboga. Miller. Otto.
Here.
Reed.
Here.
Schoen.
Here.
Serrano.
Here.
Worthman.
Here.
Great, thank you. So tonight, welcome everyone to our Monday, July 7th meeting of the Eau Claire City Council. Nice to see everyone here tonight. And we don't have any agenda items, so we just are going to go right to the public comment period. So I will just briefly go over the parameters for that section. So this public comment period is the time for those living or who have a place of business in the city of Eau Claire to speak on citywide issues. You will have 3 minutes to speak, and the timer will tell you how much time you have left. And when you get to red, please stop talking, and I'll remind you gently to finish up your remarks. You may only speak one time. Please, that's not relevant. This is not time for any personal complaints of city personnel, elected officials, or any person affiliated with the city. And then council members are not allowed to ask questions or comment during this time either, because these are not noticed items. So, and the time will last for 20 minutes. So with that, we'll go to sign up. And I'll prioritize those who are signed up, and then I'll open up the chambers. Thanks, Lane. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 8 people signed up tonight. So first we have Jane. Hi, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me here. I'm Jane Moeller, chair of the Chippewa Valley Biodiversity Partnership, and we're at 131 South Barstow. I want to talk about our city's mature trees and our tree protection in the Century Plan. I'm not an expert in trees. I'm not a forester or an urban forester, but I am a research professor, and I know how to look at the literature, and I know how to synthesize it. So I did a really deep dive last week, and this is what I found, and I wanted to share some things with you that I thought were really interesting and important and helped inform the 12-inch DBH tree protection standard. Most of Eau Claire's mature urban trees fall between 10 inches and 24 inches. Those are the mature trees. And trees 18 inches and above account for less than 20% of our urban forest. So that means if we move it up to 18 inches, we only have 20% of our urban forest that's protected. Mature trees deliver outside benefits. A single 12-inch tree removes 70% more air pollution, 1,500 gallons of storm water, cools neighborhoods by up to 10 degrees Fahrenheit, and provides 3 times more wildlife habitat than a new 2-inch sapling. Pretty significant. Mature trees do the lion's share of the work in our urban forests. Keystone species aren't always giants. So we think of big trees, we think they're important to save, but we have many keystone species that are vital to our ecosystems, including aspens, birches, willows, dogwoods, and serviceberries. And they reach their peak ecological value well below 18 inches DBH, and even sometimes below the 12 inches. So we'll lose them if we don't protect them, undermining the biodiversity and ecosystem stability that those keystone species provide. Economic and environmentally, each mature tree adds about $80 per year in ecosystem services and property values. How old do you think a 12-inch white oak is? You're not allowed to talk, are you?
Nice try, though. We almost got us.
Well, it can be as old as 80 to 100 years old, which is pretty amazing. So you think a 12-inch white oak, which is the top of the keystone trees, can be that old. You know, we don't want to squander all of that time by allowing those to be destroyed and not replaced. Replacement saplings face harsh odds. More than half will die of the 1 to 2 inch ones that get replacement saplings will die, and that's because of deer, okay, overgrazing. That's because of, and that's also because of global warming. 10 cities in Wisconsin and Minnesota use the 12-inch DBH. So there's a standard there. I think we should use it. It's evidence-based. I haven't heard much about the evidence-based in all the talks.
And I'll have to have you finish up, so.
Okay,
thanks,
thank you
Jane.
very much.
Yeah, thank you, Jane. All right, then we have Ellen. Hi, welcome.
Thank you. My name's Ellen Terwilliger. I'm trained as a Master Gardener volunteer and am active in the community. I'm basically echoing Jane's comments. I would like to see the language remain for the 12-inch DBH and the 30% replacement. Mature trees are a huge economic value to anybody buying or selling a home, and that's the least. The environmental impact, the cooling efforts. If you just heard recently in New York during that real hot spell, the High Line where there were a lot of trees, it was 10 degrees cooler. And so I would really urge you to keep this, the Century Code as it's written now. Thank you for your
Okay,
time.
Thanks, Ellen. Okay, and then Jeff. Hi.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. Could I use this device?
If it works, yes. It's our
Worked-
city
worked
clerk.
the other day.
Yeah, well, you never know. Just
You never
because it
know,
worked the other
yes.
day is
I
it's not
hear
guaranteed.
you.
But it looks like it's working, so we're in luck.
Excellent. Thank you. Oops, over here. Uh-oh, timer's already running.
If you can zoom in a little more, that'd be helpful.
I just came to speak a little bit about,
Oh.
that is a zoom in, that is for sure.
Thank you.
Um,
That's great.
Speak a little bit about the Century Code and some of the issues. My name is Jeff DeGrave. I live in historic Randall Park neighborhood, and I wanted to just draw your attention to a couple thoughts about it. And I know this plan is to cover the entire city, not neighborhood by neighborhood, which to me, looking again at what it says behind you, all the city council and city staff work together with the community to assure the common good. And so, as a community member, I wanted to point out a few things, hopefully get you thinking about perhaps maybe a different approach than just a one-size-fits-all approach to this new idea of zoning. As you can look on this document that I have there, at the top of the document you can see it references Georgetown, Lincoln Park, and Madison. Those are the three comparison cities that were in the Century Code update. These are our points of reference. The reason I point this out is because you can see that these cities are well more expensive than Eau Claire in terms of not only the first column, which is median household income, if you can't see that. Georgetown, Washington, D.C., right, is nearly 3 times as high as the average household income in Eau Claire. Lincoln Park, near Chicago, is nearly double, right? And Madison is the most expensive city in the state of Wisconsin. So if we're comparing ourselves to these cities, you can see it's not a good fit. Similarly, when you look at how much the rent is in these cities, in 2 of them, it's triple, or Lincoln Park, it's more than triple, or roughly triple, I should say, similar to Georgetown. Also look at the far column, right? I know we've been told that once the market is saturated, rents will level off and or go down. I don't know about you, I've never heard of rents dropping in Lincoln Park, Georgetown, or Madison, right? They're going up and up and up, and you can see the annual rent increase in these 3 cities, 28%, 27%, and 20%. Also, to make note, I just misspoke, Georgetown and Lincoln Park aren't cities. Those are neighborhoods. So it's not like they did this throughout all of Chicago, right, or Washington, D.C. They picked a specific neighborhood where they did the rezoning because it seemed to fit in those areas. Related, I know the argument is that ultimately we want to increase density and reduce costs. You can see Randall Park, we are literally off the charts in terms of population density. So why would we want to do this to a place that is easily the most densely populated region of Eau Claire. As you can see, the average for the city is roughly 2,000 people per square mile. Randall Park, well over 7,000 people per square mile. One last thought, I know the timer.
Well, yeah, we are out of time.
I lost a little with the technology, but I also wanted to point out just quickly, this is Randall Park, and you can see this is where the most affordable rentals are currently. So it doesn't seem that Randall Park is a good fit for the plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming down. Okay, then we have Steve. Hi, welcome.
You like trivia? Did you know that every country in the world has at least one tree, but there are 4 countries in the world that have no forests? Yemen, Qatar, San Marino, and what's the 4th one? Oh, Greenland, yeah. I'm here to talk about trees too. And what I want to say is this. First of all, we have experts in the community. When this discussion opens up, everybody keeps asking city staff for their opinion. We have some experts here in the room, and if you want questions from us, we're happy to answer them. I also want to say this. When it came time to suggest the replacement value, I wanted 100%. I think it should be 100%. 30% happened, surprisingly, secretly. We didn't know about it in the ZTAC meetings. One meeting was 60, next meeting was 30. It just happened behind closed doors. I'm not happy with that. But here's the reasoning behind 30. 30% replacement value, as the line goes, means that if all those trees, those little saplings they put in, grow up and get to maturity, we actually have more trees, right? That ain't going to happen. And that's because trees die. In the first 5 years of their lives, they really are stressed out. Salt, underwatering, all these things claim their lives, right? So we know that the science says that it takes, by the time a tree is 13 to 20 years old, half of them are dead. They don't even make it to 13 to 20 years old, right? So it doesn't happen that the replacement value at 30% means that we're going to have more trees. So that's why it's important with climate crisis coming that we pay attention to these numbers, because we want to maintain canopy or advance canopy, not lose it as we are doing. And so that's important for everybody here to know. I want to stress that as we go through this conversation. You'll hear these things. Also, you will hear words used in arguments from people that come up here, exorbitant, prohibitive. I think that's a lot of blarney. When people start using those words, they're so subjective. When we talk about costs, let's look at the model honestly and let's see. I mean, I've said this before, if you want to build an affordable home in the middle of a woods, yeah, you better be prepared to replace the trees, right? But there are places we can build affordable homes that don't mean uprooting trees and having to replace them. So let's talk about cost in an honest and true fashion instead of hyperbolizing it and exaggerating it. So thank you for your time.
Thanks, Steve. And Helene? Hi, welcome.
Homework.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Oh, thank you. Good evening. Since this works, we'll give it a shot, if I can figure it out. Okay. We have been here before, you know it, historic Randall Park neighborhood. I'm not going to be repetitive, but I would just like to draw your attention to Chapter 9 in the City Comprehensive Plan on Neighborhoods and Districts Plan. This chapter contains a blueprint for how both of your current goals of increasing housing units through new development and providing affordable housing units can be met in the central neighborhoods. 11 years ago, the data on this map showed the imbalance of our neighborhood, and it shocked the city so much that they created this chapter. They wanted to help. The most interesting sections in Chapter 9 is the plan for affordable housing, and if you're not familiar with it, I encourage you to read it. The other is that it is perfectly aligned with GR zoning, and you know that's what we're requesting. It also addresses the need for new multi-unit housing in the neighborhood, but it restricts their placement, and that may sound familiar to you because that, again, is GR zoning. GR calls for putting that new housing on what would be Lake and Fifth Avenue for ours. So they were a little ahead of their time 10 years ago, I think. So now I lost my place. Okay, all right. I think that's, let me see. Oh, the other part is that it outlines a plan for the city to partner with nonprofit entities like Habitat or Western Dairyland, removes the stress of for-profit entities and nonprofit entities competing for the same low-priced houses. I see this all as a win-win. I don't have time to go into the details, but please read it. It is very inspiring. In summary, if you approve our amendment to allow GR zoning in historic Randall Park, you will not need to amend anything in Chapter 9. It's all aligned. If you insist on NR zoning, and this is what that looks like right now, those brown buildings are the multifamily, and they're all over. And we have lots of them. As Jess pointed out, we have a lot of density. But if you insist on the NR zoning, you will not be helping our housing balance, and you will be missing, in my opinion, a golden opportunity for affordable housing. Our neighbors across the river, Third Ward, if you insist on NR, they face the same imbalance. And I had a conclusion thing, but I can stop here because of the light. I
Thank
just
you.
would like to, if you allow me, thank Congressman, oh, no, you're not a congressman. I just elevated you. Councilman Brewster for advocating on our behalf, and Councilwoman Serrano and Worthman for attending our meetings, our neighborhood meetings as often as they do. We hope to really have you approve our amendment, and then we hope to talk about affordable housing.
Great,
So,
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Scott Rogers. Hi, welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. I'm Scott Rogers. I'm Vice President Governmental Affairs at the Eau Claire Area Chamber of Commerce. Our offices are on Farwell Street, and I also am personally a resident of downtown. Congratulations on being on the home stretch of the Century Code update. We know that the decisions the City Council makes soon about the final code language will have a far-reaching effect on our community for many years to come. As the Chamber represents the local business community, we strive for a local economy that's good for all of our citizens. It's a priority to support wise policies that positively address local housing affordability and supply while maintaining a high quality of life. Therefore, as you contemplate some of those final decisions that are coming up soon, we encourage you to consider a few things. One, it's important to think of the city as an economic and social system where every decision on one thing can have consequences on other parts of the system. The City of Eau Claire zoning code will apply only within this city. The policies of other government jurisdictions surrounding us can be different, and any city policies that inhibit housing or make it too expensive could push development to other places. Taken as a whole, infill development is better for the environment, more financially productive for the community, efficiently uses existing infrastructure, it provides more opportunity for increases in supply and improvements in affordability, and lessens the pressure on SPA. Standards that inhibit infill could result in broader net negative consequences for land use and the environment. While the goals of the Century Code update are all desirable and worth pursuing, its most critical purpose is to produce more housing supply, diversity of choices, and affordability. Every part of the code should be evaluated and balanced based upon its effect on that critical purpose. Encouraging housing supply is not the only answer to affordability, but it's also true that there can be no improvement in affordability and availability of housing without more supply. So,
Great.
thanks for your opportunity.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Okay, then Aaron. Hi, welcome.
Thank you for having me here. I'm speaking in support of the tree protection threshold at 12 dBH. I'm a resident here in Eau Claire on Neptune Avenue. I understand that there are concerns that the 12 dBH threshold might hinder development or make affordable housing more difficult to build. But I would say that the rising cost of housing is not caused by tree protection ordinances. Its cost is much more complex, more than we need to get into at this moment. Limited income households have historically been disproportionately burdened by environmental issues such as extreme heat, flooding, poor air quality, all of these conditions of which trees help to mitigate. So taking away environmental protections for the sake of budget constraints or budget convenience for developers isn't equity, it's environmental injustice, in my opinion, which is basically the disproportionate of marginalized groups to be exposed to environmental hazards and pollutions. And one thing to consider with environmental injustices are all of the stakeholders at the table. So I wonder if you've asked people of limited income for housing if they would trade less trees for limited income housing. And also, I would like to say that spreading the message that limited income people have to choose affordable housing against environmental well-being is unfair and continues that divide and that kind of conflict that people have where they say that environmental issues and protections are too expensive and it hinders economic development, which is not necessarily the case. We know that in Wisconsin, we've been a kind of progressive in our land use planning. We've been the first of many in the nation on lots of creative issues since about the 1900s. There's many cases of that. So we can do creative work here in Eau Claire and figure out a way to have affordable housing and not take away trees. It shouldn't be just having good tree cover, just be for people who can live in older built neighborhoods, and that having tree cover and canopy cover for people in all homes should be a right and not just a budgetary convenience. One last quick thing I will say is that it's scientifically proven that the underground network of trees, they are communicating with each other, not like a central nervous system, but they are communicating underground. If you take away their network and if you move those older trees further and further apart, they lose that connection and they lose the resiliency that they have had throughout their existence. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, are we at 20 minutes? Okay. So we are at 20 minutes, but Council Vice President Worthman.
I'd like
do
to
you
make
have
a motion to extend another 20 minutes to our
Okay.
public comment.
Second.
Okay, we'll take a voice vote. All in favor of extending another 20 minutes, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, 20 more minutes. So that was Aaron. So Kristen. Hi, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. So hi, my name is Kristen O'Brien, and I'm a member of the Eau Claire City Sustainability Advisory Committee, the UWC Student Office of Sustainability, and the Urban Forest Board. I'm currently an undergraduate student at UWC studying ecology and environmental biology. While my particular degree has taught me a great amount about the importance of trees and biodiversity, what has taught me the most has been the experience of being a student. Students come to Eau Claire to go to college, but many stay because they fall in love with the city, or at least I know that's what has happened to me. I chose to study here because of the greenery and the biodiversity on campus made me feel at home, and after further exploring the community and seeing its commitment to the preservation of nature, I never looked back on my decision. One thing that my studies have taught me in particular is how important it is to prioritize conservation. The climate crisis is intertwined in the curriculum of all of my classes, and its urgency is clear. Despite the brevity of the situation, my generation is continuously experiencing failures by those in power to protect us, the future, and the community. This Century Code update not only has a chance to protect valuable trees, but also preserve valuable ecosystem services for people. As a young person who is hoping to someday own a house, the issue of affordable housing is pressing, but I know that affordable housing is not equitable if it does not also provide homeowners with access to trees and greenery outside their door. People of any class are deserving of nearby nature, shade, and the money-saving services that trees provide, which highlights the importance of this update. I'm here to ask you, City Council members, to please support the strong tree protection in the Century Code as they have already been approved. I appreciate your time and support, and I'm forever thankful to live in a city and a community that I love so much and supports me and my growth. Thank you.
Thanks, thank you. Okay, that's the end of people who have signed up. Is there anyone in council chambers who would like to speak? Okay. All right, so we have a few. Oh, okay. Sure, one at a time, please.
I don't know if it'll work on the overhead, but.
And if you just want to state your name and address as well.
Sure, yeah. I'm Matt Sales, 1718 Royal Court here in Eau Claire.
It's a little neighborhood up between Brackett and Rudolph. Seems appropriate, obviously, given the decisions the council's making at this time, to just give you an update from our experience as relative newcomers to Eau Claire. We're living with a zoning decision currently that's got some historical basis that deals with an industrial property right in the heart of the city. I don't know if I can get that. I don't even know if it'll work on the phone, but am I even in the vicinity? There we go. All right. So this is kind of our neighborhood. Industrial zoning is red on the outskirts of town. It's pretty obvious to see that to the council, I assume. If you zoom in here, you'll see our neighborhood. See that little block of red that's right there in the middle? We live right between that and Putnam, the Putnam Loop, the Putnam Park. We're dealing and have been dealing with paint issue from True-Built Collision. There was a rezoning due to a construction that was going on a couple years ago. The zoning board was great to work with. We worked out a compromise. Unfortunately, what's still happening is that basis of our home and most of the neighborhood there, which I'd remind the council is also within a couple hundred yards of an elementary school, as well as a bunch of other businesses that have outdoor seating. Chemical paint is being sprayed basically at housing, like street level due to the hill. The business is built into the side of a hill. When they kick on their vent fans, if you have your windows open in the summer or any of the months that are temperate, we're tasting paint in our homes, we're breathing it, it's causing health issues for some of our neighbors. We just wanted to bring it attention to the council. We've been working with the business as best as we can. The response has been late, if any. It's been more of an inconvenience. They seem to be put out by us requesting this. It's our understanding that through the Department of Natural Resources, they're polluting within the legal limits of their business. But I'd ask the council to reflect on that, given Eau Claire's somewhat lack of any sort of air quality policy or regulations that I'm aware of. I could be ignorant on that, but at least my research online doesn't seem to be like there's an extensive amount of that information. But sorry, there's our kitty cat. Well, now at least you got to see a cute cat. That'll take a little bit of the edge off. What I'm trying to drive at is that the DNR allows businesses to pollute at that level with the understanding that they're going to be on the outskirts of neighborhoods, on the outskirts of the city. It's a zoning decision that happened that I'm not expecting the council to deal with in this decision-making process. But for those of us that are living in decisions that were made 75 years ago, we're facing impacts of it right now. So, I mean, take that into consideration. This is another issue that we'll hopefully be able to deal with the business. Problem being is that if OSHA was involved, if there are workers at that business that were working without respirators on, breathing what we're breathing in daily through our windows, there could be violations, there could be punishment. But given the current zoning and the allowable uses of that business, what this business is able to do is pump toxic chemicals that they wouldn't even be deemed safe enough for their own employees into a neighborhood, because there's this one little red strip of industrial in the heart of residential neighborhoods. We're on a cul-de-sac, which I would remind is about as residential as it gets. We're about 25 yards from that smokestack, and it's right, I'm not the smokestack, but the vent fan, and it's right at window level for at least a dozen houses right in our neighborhood. So I just wanted to bring that attention and at least let the council know what's going on. It seems to be pertinent given the decisions that you're making here about trees and everything else as we're looking into the future of the city. Here's a remnant of the past, and maybe someday we could get this kind of resolved, because it doesn't really make sense from a zoning standpoint.
Great, thank you.
Thanks
for coming down. Is there anyone else in council chambers who'd like to speak? Yeah, come on down. State your name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Cheryl Jimenez Fry. I live at 1718 Royal Court in Eau Claire. I'm actually Matt Sales. I'm his wife, so we live in the same home. I just wanted to underscore, because he only had 3 minutes and we only have so much time to talk about this, and he did make some really good points about we didn't actually think about the resonance with the zoning decisions that you are making. It is a really relevant point to say, we love this town, and when we first bought this house, I thought, oh, this is extraordinary. We live right by a nature preserve. We live close to town. I work at the university. It's a great setting. But how in the world is there this industrial activity happening right outside of our home? I'm a historian. I'm actually curious to find out the decisions that were made. I know that you all didn't do that. As Matt said, it was probably 70 years or so ago. That has been the response from the business when we have asked them, can you please stop? Can you figure out some way to not pump these chemicals? Is there more filters? Can you raise up the stack? Essentially, they've said, well, we were here first. They didn't say those exact words. They said, we've been here since the 40s, and this is how it's always been. Matt had mentioned, I hope that you all keep those decisions that were made in mind in your new zoning decisions, but also I would love it if the council could I don't know if we can have some sort of public hearing, or if those of us that are in the neighborhood that are very concerned about this could somehow get on the agenda in a future meeting, because it's not just us in our house that were concerned about this. We have other neighbors who wanted to come tonight but couldn't. And it seems like it's a pretty full house anyways. So I'm hoping that maybe the council could allow us to come or be on the agenda to have some sort of discussion about what is happening, because we had hoped that we could work with the business. I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if they're willing to work with us. It was something that came up 2 years ago when the business wanted to expand, and granted, their expansion, they have not expanded painting as far as I'm concerned, as far as we can tell. In terms of what, they expanded the buildings. It's not for more painting, but the painting is still there. And during those meetings they wanted to change the zoning for several lots from R1 to C3. And C3 is that red zoning that we showed on the map that is only outside of Eau Claire except in our neighborhood. So I don't know if there needs to be new air regulations or something, or if the council can try to work with the business to say, yes, you are within the legal limits, but who knows what all those paint fumes are doing to our health. We don't notice it as much in the winter because obviously our windows are closed, but it's summer and it's on the front of my mind and everybody else's mind in our neighborhood of, my God, what am I breathing? What is, going into my vegetable garden when all of these particulates are coming through the air. So thank you for allowing me to speak, and I just hope that in the future maybe it would be something that the neighborhood could have the council listen to more opinions about that.
Thank you. Thanks for coming down. Is there anyone else in council chambers who'd like to speak? Okay, not seeing anyone. This one's hiding. So, all right. Well, if there's no one else wanting to speak, we will close the public comment period. And we do have a closed session, so I'll make them read this out loud. So upon a motion duly made and carried, the city council may go into closed session to provide an update and discuss bargaining parameters for ongoing negotiations with city employee groups, and to provide negotiation direction regarding the Altoona wastewater contract, which are permitted in closed session pursuant to S 19.851E of the Wisconsin statutes. Can I get a motion to go into closed session? Okay, a motion by Councilmember Schoen. Any second? Councilmember Reed, seconds. Any discussion? Questions? Okay. Then we'll do a voice vote. So, city clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Anderson.
Aye.
Bergen.
Aye.
Brewster.
Aye.
Otto.
Aye.
Reed.
Aye.
Schoen.
Aye.
Serrano.
Aye.
Worthman.
Aye.
Is that it? Oh, okay, that passes unanimously. So we will go into closed session here in a few minutes. So, thanks.